Hey fans, so what's up? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Ayin Hey, Daf 75 of Masechta Yevamos, friends. Who can tell me what Daf Ayin Hey talks about? Well, okay, so part of Daf Ayin Hey is cool. The other part of it is, I guess, a little awkward. The first part is cool if you're into the things that it talks about, which is like truma and like tvul yom and that kind of stuff. I think it's kind of interesting because it's kind of technical stuff, and like here we're just laying it down and letting you know what the rules are about it. Yeah, and then we get into like kros shafchas and p'tua dakas. So what am I going to tell you? All right, let's do this. All right. So on Daf Ayin Hey Amud Aleph, 3 lines into the page. V'tlosa kroi betrume lama li. Friends, hear the kasha? How come we need 3 psukim to teach me that by trume you have to wait until nightfall in order to eat trume? Right? We have one pasuk that says Ishish mizera aharon butzarua ozav bakochim lo yochal ad asher yitar. Right? One pasuk says that if you have a fellow with tsaras or a zav, so he can't eat truma until he becomes tahor. We have another pasuk that says uva shemesh v'toher b'achar yochel min kodshim, that he's got to wait until nightfall after he's gone to the mikvah, and then he's tahor, then he can eat truma. We also have by yoledes, right? It says shloshim yom v'shloshis yom teshvet meitar b'chol kodesh lo siga v'mikdash lo sava ad mlos meitara, that she can't eat kodshim until she becomes pure at the end of whether it's 30. Well, essentially 40 days or 80 days, depending on a yingul or a midel. So, at which point she can eat truma. So, why do I need 3 separate psukim to teach me that when it comes to truma, I have to wait until nightfall after I've gone to the mikveh? Now, friends, the sun is in my eyes. I think that the sun is bouncing off of the chair into my eyes. So, you know what I'm going to do? After I complain about it, I'm going to move the chair. I don't just complain. I'm also a man of action. Okay, now I've moved the chair. Let's go weiter. So tzriche. So we in fact do need all 3 psukim because what? I skipped. That if we would only have the pasuk in the context of the mitzorah and the zav, that it says that they have to wait ad asher yitar until they become tahor. I wouldn't know. Okay, fine. So it says they can only eat truma once they become tahor. When's that? What is that? How do they become tahor? Oh, so we have the second pasuk of, well, after they go to the mikvah, they wait till nightfall, and then they're tahor. So there you go. If we would only have the pasuk that says that you wait till nightfall and then you're tahor, I would say, oh, so I would say, well, that is only in a situation where they don't also have to bring a korban the next day, right? For example, if you're a zav who only saw a ziva twice, so you're tamei until, as long as you don't, you're tamei until you go 7 days without seeing ziva. At which point you go to the mikvah and you wait till the night and you don't have to bring any korbanos the next day. So I might think that, okay, fine, so you wait till the nightfall, you can eat truma when you don't have to bring any korbanos the next day. But if it was, let's say, a zav who saw ziva 3 times and then after he's tahor, then the next day he needs to bring korbanos, maybe I would say that you cannot eat truma until you bring your korbanos the next day. So So therefore we have the pasuk by a yoledes, a woman who gives birth, who does have to bring korbanos, and still it says that you just have to wait. She has to wait until she's tahor. Once she's ad melosi me Torah, until the days are up, i.e. comes nightfall following the last day, and she can already eat truma. She does not have to wait until she brings the korbanos the next day. Because of Achman ad Melos, and if you would only have the pasuk by Yoledes, Havamina afilu below Tvila, I might think, well, okay, maybe even if she doesn't go to the mikvah, she'll be tahor that night to eat truma. Because of Achman ad asher yitar, therefore we have the first pasuk which says ad asher yitar that you need to davke go to the mikveh. So we need all of the psukim. Okay, fine, givaldig. So by eating truma, when you have a fellow who's tamei, so you go to the mikvah, on the day that you will become tahor. So then, until the end of the day, you are a tvul yom, and you cannot eat truma. Comes the nighttime, you can eat truma, even if you have to bring korbanos the next day. And according to the Tana who argues on what they said in the Beis Medrash of Rabbi Shmuel that we saw yesterday, and the arguer says that this arguer holds that this pasuk of Ish mizera aharon v'utzarua ozav b'kachim lo yochal, that pasuk which says that a fellow who's a mitzora or a zav, so then he can't eat kachim. So we were assuming that that's talking about truma, and that it's talking about a fellow who only saw ziva twice, or it's a mitzora who hasn't been, determined to actually have tzaras. So in those cases, they don't have to bring korbanos, and in those cases, we said, comes the nighttime and they're already tahor, they can eat truma. But there is an opinion that says actually that pasuk is talking about a mitzora who is a real mitzora, and a zav who saw ziva 3 times, i.e. people who need to bring korbanos, and therefore, and we're saying that korban is not actually, that pasuk is not, and we're saying that pasuk actually is not talking about truma, it's talking about kodshim, right? And it's saying that you have to wait till you bring your korbanos the next day to eat kodshim. Right? And therefore when it says until you're tahor, so it's not talking about going to the mikvah, it's talking about bringing your atonement the next day, and then you can eat kodshim. So trei krai b'kodshim lamali. So why do I need 2 psukim to teach me that you have to bring a korban in order to bring in order to be able to eat kodshim? What does Rashi say? Trei krai ad asher yitar v'chipar alea v'tahera b'kodshim. Right, so Rashi says that the 2 psukim are, meaning according to this opinion, so this pasuk that talks about a mitzora and a zav are talking about mitzora and a zav who have to bring korbanos, and it's saying that once they bring the korban, they can then eat kodshim. And also it says by a yoledes that v'chipar alea hakohen v'tahera, that she'll bring the korbanos and then she is tahor to eat kodshim. So why do I need 2 psukim? Because if we would only have the pasuk by the yoledes, mishum dimruba tumasa, I might think, okay, davka yoledes has to wait until the korbanos before she can eat kodshim, because I mean she's tummy for a very long time, right? For a yingol it's 40 days, for a midol it's 80 days. That's a very long tumah. So aval b'zav imalo, but a zav who's only tamei for 7 days, as long as he doesn't see any more ziva. So I would think that maybe he doesn't have to wait until the korbanos. I guess maybe even the night before, when he's done with his tumah, he can already, I guess, eat kodshim. Because of achmana b'zav, and if we would only have the pasuk by zav, to lohutu michlal, I would say, okay, by a zav, there's no exceptions to the rules. Let's go weiter for a second. Aval yoledes imalo, but yoledes, right, there's a shtickle chiddush when it comes to yoledes, right? For a yingol, she's tamei for 7 days. But then for the next 33 days, even if she sees dam, it's dam that's pure, it's tahor dam, and she could still be with her husband. If it's a midol, so then for 2 weeks, she's tamei, but then for 66 days after that, even if she sees dam, she's still tahor, right? So that's like a shtickle chiddush. So I might think that since there's this like chiddush when it comes to yoledes, maybe I think we could be a little bit more lenient. So therefore, we need the psukim both by yoledes and by zav to teach that. Do we say zav? By yoledes and by zav to teach that you have to wait until the next day till you bring the korbanos in order to be able to eat kodshim. But my yuva v'tamei ada arav lamalis. Now, for the Gemara, we have another pasuk. The pasuk says. Let's read the pasuk. If you have a dead sheretz that it falls on epis, yitma it's tamei. If it's wood or beged or a garment or hide or sack or some kind of cloth. Kol kli So it says by a dead sheretz that if it falls on epis, so you put it in the mikvah and then it's tamei until the night and then it's tahor. So why do I need that? I already know that by truma. Right, it's tahor legabe truma. We'll go weiter for a second; it'll become clear. But why do I need this pasuk by truma to say that you bring it to the mikveh, then it's tamei till the evening, and then it's tahor? We know that already. That's what we've been talking about. Right, we had 3 psukim that teach when it comes to truma that you just go to the mikveh, wait till the nightfall, and then it's tahor. So again, but my muva v'tamei ad arav lamali. Why do I need this pasuk to say that you dip it in the mikveh, and then you wait till the evening, and then it becomes tahor? So Ibzeh says, well, that's talking about touching, givaldi, right? Meaning, the three psukim that we brought earlier, right, by the Yoledes, by the, Zav Bal Shtei Re'iyos, by the Uva Shemesh V'Taher. So that was talking about to eat truma. Right? In order to eat truma, so the fellow goes to the mikveh, and then you wait till the evening. Comes the evening, you can now eat truma. This pasuk by the sheretz is talking about vessels touching truma, right? So let's say you have a plate which became tameh. So, right, dead sheretz fell on it. So you bring it to the mikveh, then you wait till the nighttime, and then it comes the nighttime, you can then put your truma on that plate, but not before then. So says Reb Zera, this pasuk is talking about touching. The Tanya is within the Brisa of V'tameh, that when the pasuk says, B'mayim yuva v'tameh ada arev v'toyer, so I might think that yachol hakol. I might think that after you put it in the mikveh, it remains tameh in all respects until the evening. Tamlom v'taher. Therefore, the pasuk says v'taher, meaning it doesn't say v'yitar and then it will become tahor. It means v'taher, it is already tahor from the time they bring it to the mikveh. V'taher, but if it only said v'taher, yachol hakol, I might think that it's tahor in every respect, even with regard to truma. Talmud lomar v'tameh. Therefore, it says it's tameh. Okay, it said how could it be tameh and tahor? So kan the meiser, kan the truma. So well, it depends. If it's meiser, so then immediately after it comes out of the mikveh, you could put meiser on this vessel. But when it comes to meiser sheni, so when it comes to truma, however, you would have to wait until the evening. Maybe I'll switch it around and say that immediately after the mikveh, it can come in contact with truma, but it has to wait till the nighttime for meiser. Well, mistavro kechi dechamira achila de truma mechila de meiser hachinami chamir negia de truma minigia de meiser. So the Gemara says, well, it makes sense to say that just like when it comes to eating truma and eating meiser, eating truma is more stringent, that you have to wait till the evening, whereas meiser sheni you can eat immediately after you go to the mikveh. So the same thing with touching, that if you have a vessel that became tameh from a dead sheretz, you put it in the mikveh, and then immediately afterwards it can come in contact with meiser sheni, but it has to wait until the evening to come in contact with truma. Or alternatively, I could tell you that we learn out the halachos of touching truma from the following pasuk. The Tanya is we learn in the Brisa b'chol kodesh lo siga, that it says by a yoledes, a woman who has given birth. So basically, there's a very interesting concept by yoledes. So let's say she gave birth to a yingel. So for the first 7 days, she's tameh. But then afterwards, for the next 33 days, she has a status of what's called a tvulas yom aruch, like a very, very long tvul yom, right? For example, a tvul yom gets out of the mikveh, right? In a regular case, a zav, right? Gets out of the mikveh. So immediately afterwards, he can eat meiser sheni, but he has to wait until the evening in order to eat truma. A yoledes for that whole 33-day period is considered like a tvulas yom. A tvulas yom aruch, a very long tvulas yom, that she's not allowed to touch truma, she's not allowed to eat truma. So b'chol kodesh lo siga, when it says that she cannot touch truma, asar lo ochel, so that means that she can't eat truma. Or maybe it means she can't touch truma. Well, the pasuk says that she shouldn't touch any kodesh, and she also shouldn't go to the Beis Hamikdash. Makish kodesh lemikdash. We're comparing this kodesh to the Beis Hamikdash. Ma mikdash davar sheyesh bo netilas neshama. Just like if a fellow goes to the Beis Hamikdash, if a person goes to the Beis Hamikdash and they are tameh, so then big trouble. Karis. So af kodesh davar sheyesh bo netilas neshama. So also when it comes to truma, we're talking about something that has chiyuv kares. I.e., if a tamei person eats truma, that is a chiyuv kares. Whereas touching truma, you would not be chayiv kares for that. Wait, 1 second. No. If you eat truma, you're chayiv misa b'dei shamayim. If your tamei person eats truma, chayiv misa b'dei shamayim. But still, there's a netilas neshama. Yeah. So like, misa b'dei shamayim is still misa. Okay. And the reason why it referred to b'chol kodesh lo siga, they shouldn't touch any truma, even though really we're saying that it means that you shouldn't eat any truma. The reason why it talks about touching is to say that touching is just like eating, i.e., that just like to eat truma, you have to wait till the evening. So also to touch truma, you would have to wait until the evening. But meiser sheni, you would already be able to touch immediately after going to the mikveh. Ptsua daka v'chulei. Moving on in the Mishnah had said that a ptsua daka, a fellow with crushed testicles, or as Anna asked me, crushed body parts. Kosh testicles, so, or achro shafcha, fellow part of his penis is cut off, the weiter. Right. I'm gonna try to avoid going into too much detail. Let's go weiter. So, fine. So, says the Gemara, man tana mishtameres levia psula de oraise ochla. Uwah, gewaldig. So the Mishnah had said that, okay, so psula daka and achro shafcha. So they're not allowed to marry into the congregation, right? And right, so they're not allowed to marry into the congregation. Now, if they're a Kohen, they're allowed to eat trumah, and also their slaves can eat trumah, but their wives, because they're not allowed to marry into the congregation, if they do, their wives are chalala, and they're not allowed to eat trumah. So now, but the Mishnah had said, what did the Mishnah say? Who could tell me? The Mishnah had said, but if after he became a p'tzuadaka or a choshafcha, he didn't sleep with his wife, i.e. she's not a halala, well then she can eat trumah. Now, so, fact the Gemara, so who is the Tana who says that a woman who is sort of awaiting what do we call this? A levia psula, a bia that is psula. She's awaiting a bia that's psula. She's allowed to eat trumah. Let's go weiter. So it says Rabbi Lazar, what's machlokas? Rabbi Lazar, Reb Shimon, it's Rabbi Lazar and Reb Shimon. Friends, do you remember the right? We said, for example, Amana l'kohen gadol. Right. We had learned about an Amana l'kohen gadol. If you have a widow who gets engaged to a kohen gadol, so right, or gusha b'chlutza l'kohen hedget. So she's only engaged. She's not a halala. They didn't actually sleep with each other, so she's not a halala. So Rabbi Lazar and Reb Shimon said she's allowed to eat trumah. Reb Meir says she's not. So therefore, we're asking now. You have a p'tzuadaka chro shafcha, and they're married, and they didn't. But from the time they became p'tzuadaka or chro shafcha, he didn't have intercourse with his wife. So therefore, she's not a halala. But I mean, they're still married. She's basically pending this bia psula, and the Mishnah is saying that she's allowed to eat trumah. So let's start from the beginning. So who is the Tana who says that a woman who is awaiting a psula bia, a bia psula de oraise, she can nonetheless eat trumah? Amar Rabbi Lazar, so says Rabbi Lazar, machlokas nu Rabbi Lazar Reb Shimoni. Well, that's the machlokas that we saw in, I think it was the parak Amana l'kohen gadol, right? Wasn't that even the parak? I think. Let's see. It was ages ago. Oh wait, or was it not? But I think it was Nun Vav or something. Yeah, Bo Yevimto. Oh, friends, we learned a lot of Yevamos. Wait, was it not that? Oh no, it was Bo Yevimto. Alright. Oh, what do you want me to tell you? Let's go weiter. Nun Vav Nun Beis. So, we gotta go weiter, friends. We gotta go weiter. Fine. So, Amar Rabbi Lazar, Machlokas Shinu Rabbi Lazar, Reb Shimoni. Fine. So, it's Rabbi Lazar and Reb Shimon who said by Alman l'kohen gadol gusha v'achlutz l'kohen hedget, if they're only engaged, she'd be allowed to eat trumah. Now, Rabbi Yochanan Amar afilu teim Reb Meir. Rabbi Yochanan says you can even say that it is Reb Meir kashani acha, that is different over here shekvar achla, because she was already eating trumah, right? So meaning, even though Reb Meir says that Alman l'kohen gadol gusha v'achlutz l'kohen hedget, even from Erisin they would be unable to eat trumah. But this case is different because they were already married before this fellow became a p'tzuadaka or chol shafcha, and therefore they're already eating trumah, so they can continue eating trumah. So Rabbi Yochanan says even Rabbi Meir would admit that in this case she can continue eating trumah. Whereas Rabbi Lazar would argue with Rabbi Yochanan and say shekvar ochla lo amrinan. We don't say that just because she was already eating trumah, she can continue eating trumah. Because what about in the situation of a bas Yisrael who was married to a Kohen, vames baila, and then he dies? What, you say that she can just continue eating trumah because she was already eating trumah, right? If you have a bas Yisrael who marries a Kohen, so when they're married, she can eat trumah. But if he dies, goes to Wellwood, so then she's not allowed to eat trumah anymore. But what? Rabbi Lazar asked Rabbi Yochanan, would you say that since she was already eating trumah when they were married, she can continue? No way, no how. And therefore, Rabbi Lazar says that, Rabbi Meir would not say that, right? We would not say that just because she was already eating truma before he was a kro shafcha, she can continue afterwards, or p'tua daka. Rabbi Yochanan asan paka kinyane hacha lo paka kinyane. Whereas Rabbi Yochanan says no, it's different. That in the situation of a bas Yisrael married to a kohen and he goes to Elwood, so then they're no longer married anymore. She has nothing to do with the kohen. Whereas in this case, they're still married. And therefore, she's a p'tua, he's a p'tua daka or kro shafcha, and they can't be together, but they haven't yet slept with each other. She's not a chalala, they're still married. She's been eating truma until now. So Rabbi Yochanan says that Rabbi Meir would argue that, or Rabbi Yochanan argues that Rabbi Meir would say that in this case, she would be able to continue eating truma as long as they didn't sleep with one another. Now says the Gemara, Ezu p'tua ua. So what's a p'tua daka? Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Ezu p'tua daka. Kol sheniftu beitzim shelo. If his testicles got wounded. Alright. How do you define wounded? Alright. Vafilu achas men, even if it's only one of them. Alright. Vafilu nikvu, even if they got punctured. Vafilu nimoku, or they got dissolved. Vafilu chasru, or they got missing a piece. Okay. Amar bishma b'nosh Rabbi Yochanan Broka shemaitim pi chacham b'kerem b'yavne. Says Rabbi Shmuel ben Rabbi Yochanan Broka that he heard from the rabbis in Kerem B'Yavne. I think I mentioned once I went to Kerem B'Yavne for like 3 weeks. Dafka now during Sfira Sa'omer. I was Dafka in Kerem B'Yavne for Lag BaOmer about a long time ago. How old am I? What year is it? 2022. That was probably 2007, maybe 15 years ago, I guess. That was not fun. Let's go weiter. Okay, so they said in Kerem B'Yavne that if you have one testicle, what about it? What, you're like a kro shafcha, a p'tua daka? Oh, no. So they said, if you only have one testicle, okay, then that's okay. Sris chamo, what, you're a Sris chamo? Sris chamo is like, I don't know, somebody got like some kind of disease or something. He's like a Sris chamo, the kosher. Alright. So people with one testicle, it's alright. V'nikev lo molid, what? And if you have a punctured testicle, you can't have kids. V'a'u gavra, there was that guy, the salak ledikla, that he went up to a palm tree. V'charze silva, and a thorn punctured his testicle. Bebeitzim. V'nafak mine kechutim muglo, and a thread of pus came out of his testicles. V'olid, and yet he was able to have kids. Alright, that guy. But Shmuel sent in front of Rav. So Rav says, well, go out and say about this guy's kids, hey, where'd your kids come from? Because they can't come from you because you had a thorn in your testicles. I guess everybody knew. Alright, that's awkward. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, P'tua daka b'dei shomayim kosher. Says Rav Yehuda in the name of Shmuel that if you have a fellow with crushed testicles from God, then it's kosher. Meaning, I guess if you were born that way. So I guess that's okay. Okay, and that's why we say p'tua daka and not ha p'tua. Okay, let's go back there for a second. We learn in a brayse nemer lo yavo p'tua v'nemer lo yavo mamzer. It says that you shouldn't have a p'tua daka and you shouldn't have a mamzer. Malaholim b'di'odim afkan b'di'odim. So just like a mamzer is man-made, right? It's from a relationship. So also the problematic p'tua daka is something that was made, it wasn't born that way. Amar Rava says, Rava p'tua b'chulun, wounded with all of them. Dach b'chulun, crushed with all of them. Karuz b'chulun, severed with all of them. P'tua b'chulun, what does it mean that wounded with all of them? Ben shenifza agid, whether the member became wounded. Ben shenifzu beitzim, whether the testicles became wounded. Ben shenifzu chute beitzim, whether the testicular threads, is that a medical term? Testicular threads. Maybe. Well, whether those things got wounded. Dach b'chulin, crushed for all of them. Ben shenidach agid, whether the member became crushed. Karuz b'chulin, whether the where am I? What did I skip? Where am I? Dach b'chulin, so crushed for all of them. Ben shenidach agid, whether the member became crushed. Ben shenidchu beitzim, whether the testicles became crushed. Ben shenidchu chute beitzim, whether the testicular threads became crushed. Karuz b'chulin, severed with all of them. Ben shenichros agid, whether the member became severed. Ben shenichrosu beitzim, whether the testicles became severed. Ben shenichrosu chute beitzim, whether the testicular threads became severed. So a certain rabbi said to Rav, you hear the kasha? How do you know that crushed testicles is actually referring to crushed testicles? Maybe it means a crushed head. Okay, sounds good to me. Because the pasuk doesn't say that a P'tu'adaka and all of his descendants are not allowed to marry into the congregation. So that means that a P'tu'adaka doesn't have descendants. That's how you know that it's talking about testicles and not a head. Dilma hai dilo mana bodoris the you the also be the also uvai kosher. Well, maybe the only reason why it doesn't mention subsequent generations is just because, practically speaking, it doesn't apply to subsequent generations, right? Meaning, maybe P'tu'adaka is a crushed head, and the reason why it says that a person with a crushed head can't marry into the congregation, but it doesn't mention the kids, is because the kids can. So, dumi de chos shavcha, well, because we compare P'tu'adaka to a kros shavcha. Kros shavcha, boso makom, just like a severed member fellow is a member, his penis, af hai nami boso makom, so also kros shavcha is talking about testicles. V'chros shavcha gufe mimai, so it's also P'tu'adaka is testicles. V'chros shavcha gufe mimai de boso makom, how do you know that a severed member is talking about a penis? Ema misvase, maybe it's talking about a severed lip. Well, shafcha, because if it says to sort of like ooze out or something, it has to be like a place that like sort of pours out, and I guess your mouth doesn't pour out in the same way. Okay, yeah, it was interesting on on Shabbos. On Shabbos, I saw a friend of mine, and he was kind of sick, so I actually didn't see him, but his wife was there with their daughters, and I thought his daughter described to me the sound of his puke, the sound of his vomit. I thought it was a very good description. She said it sounded kind of like, what was it? Yeah, it sounded kind of like a burp followed by a gloop. I think that's a pretty good description of puke. A burp followed by a gloop. A burp followed by a gloop. I think that's a pretty good description of throw up. A burp followed by a gloop. I thought that was pretty good. Also really funny. Let's go weiter. So, fine. Ve'ema, so shafcha ksiv makom sheshofech. It has to be a plate that kind of oozes out. A burp and then a gloop. Ve'ema mechotma, maybe P'tu'adaka, no, maybe kros shafcha is from your nose. Like, schnot kind of flows out of your nose. So miksiv bishvoch, it says kros shafcha ksiv. Well, it doesn't say, right? It doesn't say like a place that is like always oozing. It's a place that dafka, when it gets severed, it oozes. Misha ayde krisa shofech. It only oozes because it got severed. Shlo ayde krisa eno shofech el mikaleach. But if it wouldn't be severed, it wouldn't ooze. It would spout. Whereas your nose is always kind of oozing. Lafuke hai the idi shofechu, right? As opposed to your nose, which is always kind of in ooze mode. We learn in a brayso nemar lo yavo P'tu'adaka. So we learn in a brayso that a P'tu'adaka should not come into the congregation. V'nemar lo yavo mamzer. It also says that a mamzer should not come into the congregation. Just like mamzer is talking about having a sexual relationship. So also by P'tu'adaka, by kros shavcha, we're talking about your penis, not your like lips or nose or anything. What if you have a fellow, he's got a hole in his penis? From like, I don't know, the lower part to the top part. So for B'chia bar Abba thought to say that that's okay. It's kosher. So the Rabbi says, that no. If the top of the penis has a hole in it, like a hole that isn't normally there, so then it's a problem. The Mishnah that if part of the top of the penis remains, then it's okay. Ravina asked, when they say if there's like a hair's breadth of the top of the penis left, so al pnei kulo al pnei ruba, is that the entire top of the penis or just most of it? Says Rabbi Tosfot to Ravina that it means even if it's just the majority of the top of the penis, as long as it's towards the body. Amar Rav Huna says Rav Huna kikulmus ksher k'ma'asev psula. Says Rav Huna that I guess if your penis somehow gets the shape of like a quill, like a pointy quill, so that's okay. Kimarze, but if it's like a gutter of sorts, I don't know. It's not like pointy per se. It's got some width, but I guess it's got a hole in the middle that's too wide. Psula. It's a problem. Because if it's too wide, so then air gets in it and it sort of affects the semen in a negative way. Rav Chisda says the opposite, that like a gutter is kosher, like a quill is possible. High guard vilo guard, because if it's like a gutter, so then the semen can be drawn out, whereas like a quill, it can only drip out, which is not effective. Rava kavasa to Rav Huna mistavra, says Rava that it makes sense like Rav Huna, that the quill penis is okay, the gutter penis is not. All right. High low shalit ba'avira, vai shalit ba'avira, because the quill penis, the air won't get in it and therefore will not negatively impact the semen. Imishum gridusa. But what about the fact that the semen might not come out very strong? It might just like drip out, which will not be effective. Meaning to have a barza de chavisa. Well, it's like a spigot in a barrel. If you have a pointy spigot that you stick into a barrel, I guess eventually, so I don't know, like the point goes into the barrel, but then, as it gets wider, it kind of plugs up the thing, and then the liquid can come out of the barrel. So you're also with the penis, I guess, when you stick it in far enough, then it's able to be effective. Amar le Ravina, says Ravina, the Mereimar, Hachi Amar Marzutre, so says Marzutre Mishmeder Apape, also Bein Kikulmus, Bein Kimarziv Kshera, that whether you have a quill penis, whether you have a gutter penis, it's kosher miu mibaya le lamata me'atara or lamala. Yeah, the question is this quill or gutter shape happening above the top of the penis or below? Well, pshita de lamaila, clearly we're talking about sort of closer to the body. Lamala me'atara di sagadatich lamata me'atara, if it's talking about sort of towards the end of the penis, well, afilu nichros agid nami, even if it was completely removed, that would be okay. As we had said, as long as there's like a hair's breadth. Ravina the shabush and the meremer with the boy, Ravina was really just testing meremer. That's why he asked, even though he knew that he's talking about closer to the body. There's a certain incident, story, I guess. In Matamachasya, Shafie Marbar of Ashi Kukulmus. Yikes. There was some kind of situation in Matamachasya, I don't know, some guy had some misshaped penis, and then Marbar of Ashi shaped it for him to be like a quill. There was a story that in Pumbedisa one time, they were assuming, I don't know, that somehow there were like different holes for different things inside the penis, one for urine, one for semen, and the semen was coming out of the urine. What am I going to tell you? Sover Rav Beva Bar Abai Lachshur. Rav Beva Bar Abai thought to say that's okay. Amar Papi Mishum Daosmi Muloi Amir Mile Mul Yusa. Rav Papi says, Rav Beva, he comes from Abaye. Abaye comes from Eli's family, as we've learned before, and they have short lives, and because he comes from like a stooped family, so Risu Milya Molisa is saying sort of silly things. Look, if the semen is coming out of the right place, then it's effective. If it's coming out of the wrong place, it's not effective. Therefore, this will be a problem. Friends, that was the Ein Hey of Masechta Yevamos. Well, the first part of the daf was kind of talking about Truma, which is, and Meiser, and Kachim, which is actually pretty interesting. That, you have a Tvul Yom is allowed to eat Meiser Sheni, but he's not allowed to eat Truma. Comes the nighttime, you can eat Truma. Now, if he wants to catch him in an event where he's going to have to bring korbanos the next day, so he has to wait till he brings the korbanos the next day in order to be able to eat catch him. That was kind of that stuff, which was pretty interesting. And then we got into all this like Krosh Shafchop Tzuadaka stuff. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out.